Welcome to the lecture on Power Quality Monitoring by Professor Tanuja Date from Electrical Engineering Department, K.K. Wagh Institute of Engineering Education and Research, Nasik. We have been learning this from the course in 7th semester of final year engineering, electrical engineering as elective 1 Power Quality as prescribed by the University of Pune. The teaching scheme, examination scheme and course objectives as given in the university syllabus are seen on the screen. The objectives of today's lecture are to learn the monitoring objectives, recognize the importance of initial site surveys, determine the monitoring location and select appropriate power quality monitoring equipment and its settings. The monitoring objectives. Now what is monitoring? The power quality monitoring is a process of gathering, analyzing and interpreting raw measurement data into useful information. Now for this we have to determine the choice of monitoring equipment, their triggering thresholds, methods for data acquisition and storage, and analysis and interpretation requirements. To learn to do all this, we have to first check what are the objectives of monitoring, under what condition the monitoring is performed. Monitoring to characterize the system performance. Now this is called as a proactive approach because this is done before any customer comes across any problem. This is just for checking the system performance and understanding that is everything alright in the industrial setup. This is done by the power producer to understand the system performance and then match the system performance with needs of the customer. So such kind of proactive approach is taken by the power producer whether any kind of problems arise while reaching the power at the customer end. Monitoring to characterize specific problems. Now this is called as reactive approach. This is generally done later on once the problems are faced. So to solve problems by performing short-term monitoring at specific customer sites or at difficult loads. Now the difficult loads are which show any malfunctioning, tripping or deviation in the performance at particular operating conditions. So frequently they are identified as a cause of equipment incompatibility as a first step to solution. So when we come across any problem, as a reactive approach, monitoring is done. Monitoring is a part of enhanced power quality service. Now this is done as a precaution that the system is set up and it is yet not showing any problem, but this is done as an enhanced power quality service, like taking extra precaution that none of the loads will be become sensitive because of some power quality issues and no problem should arise. And monitoring is a part of predictive or just-in-time maintenance. It so happens that once the entire industrial setup is new and functioning properly, all the equipment connected also will be new. But as the time passes and as it is in continuous operation, the life and the performance of various equipment needs to be checked again and again, and to ensure that the entire system operates properly, we have to do some predictive maintenance. So as a predictive maintenance, to understand the operating condition of various equipments which are connected and their operations, the power quality monitoring is done. So these are various objectives under which the power quality monitoring can be done. Now to begin with, the most important part of this power quality monitoring before we actually start using equipment and hook the equipment in the industrial setup or at any point at which we want to monitor, initial site surveys are very important. Now these initial site surveys or facility site surveys, they are performed to evaluate concerns for power quality and equipment performance throughout the facility. The survey will include inspection of wiring and grounding concerns, equipment connections, the voltage and current characteristics throughout the facility. Now this is just to check whether all the equipment is connected as per their specifications of wiring and grounding practices as prescribed by the equipment manufacturer. Their placement in the industrial facility is appropriate, and they should not be affected by some nearby equipment or load which can deviate the performance of this equipment. So equipment which are connected in vicinity, their grounding and wiring is also important. So all this inspection can be done during the walkthrough or site survey. Power quality monitoring along with infrared scans and visual inspections is an important part of the overall survey. Now power quality monitoring is done along by using some equipment along with infrared scans. The infrared cameras can be used for taking infrared images, and these images can give us a true picture of various temperature or heating conditions of the equipment and different parts of a large equipment, where infrared images are clearly indicating whether a particular part is showing excessive heating, which can further lead to some power quality or equipment failure issues. Visual inspections, sometimes as I said, that locations of the equipment or their connections, they are not proper and which can be identified even by visual inspections. This is an important part of the overall survey. So when we do go for this site survey, there are certain things which can be noted down in the form of data. Now this initial site survey is designed to obtain as much information as possible about the customer facility. This is like collection of all the data about number of points. These points are the nature of problems, like if there are any reporting of any problems which are seen or occurring in as a history or prior to this site survey in the form of data loss, it may be nuisance tripping, it could be component failures or control system malfunctions. So at various locations in the customer facility, the records are maintained and we can get this data of any kind of problems which are seen with various equipments in the industrial facility. So records of this to find out various different nature of problems. Characteristics of the sensitive equipment experiencing problems. Now this generally comes along with the data sheet or application guide information, where the characteristics are given along in the data sheet, and for the sensitive equipment we can check that what are the expected characteristics of the particular equipment. The times at which problems occur. So along with the nature of problems, different types of problems, the typical time at which this problem is occurring in the daytime, during the day I mean, or during the process cycle. So sometimes it is so observed that a particular time, say for in the evening when entire illumination lamps are turned on, that time some problem occurs typically every day. So the time at which the problem occurs can give indication about what could be the cause of this problem, as well as the frequency at which it is occurring. If we monitor the frequency of the same problem occurring again and again, that also can give us indication or clue about what could be the reason, looking at the entire process cycle or switchings which are taking place in the industrial processes. Coincident problems or known operations. This is the same what I was discussing, that every time a capacitor switching occurs and it turns itself into some malfunctioning of the equipment, if this can be. So this is a coincident problem which is happening because of some other operations which are affecting the equipment. Possible sources of power quality variations within the facility. Now this is a large motor starting which can lead to voltage sag kind of problems, capacitor switching, power electronic equipment operation, or arcing equipment. So all the data which is available depending on the facility and nature of equipment which are in operation, we can collect all the information about this. Existing power conditioning equipment being used, if any. So most of the times while designing the facility electrical supplies, it is suggested to have some power conditioning equipment already installed. If it is installed, the use of this equipment, whether it is sufficient or no, and based on the previous information as per it was designed, whether it is giving right power conditioning or no, that can be seen. So in this there may be is a possibility that there is no existing power conditioning equipment. In that case we can suggest one. If it is already there, we can take data for whether it is operating properly and whether it is sufficient for existing conditions. And electrical system data, that the single line diagram of the entire setup, the transformer sizes, their impedances, load information, capacitor information, cable data, all this while taking industrial site survey, we can collect all this information about the electrical system data. Again I am saying that when the entire setup is new, this information available could be for the new equipment. After being used in number of years, there could be some deviations, or there could be some add-on equipments later on added in the campus, in the industrial setup, or there could be slight performance variations in the equipment because they have been used continuously and they are now aged. So all that information of electrical system also can be collected. So initial site survey gives all this information must be kept handy. For collecting these information, there are various formats available which are given as a reference. That this is one example that most of the industries are maintaining records in a particular format, and such forms can be used during the site survey. We can just have a look at this. This is a supply transformer data sheet giving its details of manufacturer, its connection type, kVA rating, primary and secondary voltages, the number of taps which are available, the tap position right now at which it is being used, and the test data can be recorded in this sheet as primary voltages, primary currents, then neutral and ground currents, secondary voltages, secondary currents, and the information like whether neutral ground bond is present. So this sheet, if we continue filling along with in the site survey, it will be extremely useful. This is for recording feeder circuit data. You can again see that panel identification, location, the various voltages between lines A, B, B, C, C, A, then with the neutral voltages, feeder currents in 3 lines, neutral and ground currents. All the information along with feeder wire sizes, phase, neutral and ground can be entered in this sheet. Later on such sheets can be also used along with the comments which are present or which can be written on the sheet. This is for recording data for test data for individual loads. Now you can see here number of equipment at various locations which are connected. So for each equipment we can check its phase to phase voltage, phase to neutral voltage, volts between neutral and ground, load current, ground impedance and neutral impedance. If we have number of equipments, all that location and equipment data can be recorded. Since we are marking the location as well, the equipment which is in vicinity with each other also can be identified in this. So such sheets can be used and are extremely useful for recording data during the site surveys. Now we have to also determine what to monitor. It does not happen that we just simply take one monitoring equipment and connect and say that monitor everything whatever is coming. It's not likely. So for determining what to monitor, we need to first understand the characterizing the quality of AC power are important for monitoring requirements. What does it mean? For instance, if we are characterizing transients, that after the site survey and looking at the problem, there can be some guesswork about what could be the problem caused in this industrial setup. If we feel that it could be because of transients, the monitoring equipment needs to monitor if any transients are occurring during the monitoring interval, and for that it requires high frequency sampling of the actual waveform. So we must understand what we want to monitor when we connect the monitor. So if the conclusion is it is because of voltage sags, we know voltage sags can be characterized by time versus magnitude. So RMS voltage magnitude versus time plots can be taken, and we can check whether the voltage, so magnitude and duration both must be recorded for the input voltage. If outages can be defined, it can be because outage or interruption, which is a sustained interruption, we can identify that only by time duration. Then it is a loss of voltage, but or voltage dropping below 10%, but it needs to be identified only with time duration. If it persists for more than a minute, we will say outage. Okay, so for measurement of this, magnitude is only loss of voltage or very low voltage for longer duration. So duration becomes very important. So we must monitor the duration. Monitoring to characterize harmonic distortion levels and normal voltage variations requires steady state sampling. As we have already understood that harmonics is a steady state phenomena because it occurs on every cycle of the input supply wave, whereas normal voltage variations, which are in the normal operating range but they can result into flicker, we are taking that as steady state sampling. So with results analysis of trends over time. Now so as per our guess about the power quality issues, we need to use particular parameters to be monitored. Extensive monitoring of all different types of power quality variations at many locations may be rather costly, because if we increase number of parameters to be monitored along with the duration for which this monitoring is required to be done, that varies from power quality problem to problem, and it becomes extremely costly because it requires hardware, communication charges, data management and report preparations. The priorities for monitoring should be determined based on the objectives of the effort. So if we simply say that power quality monitoring is required, that becomes very vague or ambiguous. We must first say what we want to monitor, for how long, and accordingly we can control the cost of monitoring by having all these problems resolved. That need of hardware, depending on the sampling frequency, various hardware requirements are there. We need to transfer the data because it cannot be stored in the monitoring equipment all the while. It needs to be transferred to a PC or other storage device, and then analysis tools are to be used for if large data is collected. It takes longer durations and more effort required for analyzing data. There is one more important point, that choosing the monitoring location, where to monitor. So we have seen why to monitor, what to monitor, and now we want to check at what location, where to monitor. So monitoring locations can be chosen. One obvious thing we can say, wherever we are having problem, near to that equipment we can connect the monitoring equipment, but this is in general. So monitoring locations can be selected carefully based on the monitoring objectives. Why are we monitoring? The first objectives which we have seen, accordingly the choice of location will vary. For characterizing specific power quality problems that are actually being experienced by customers, the monitoring location should be at actual customer service entrance locations. So where the problem is, it can be only after it is a reactive approach, and it can be only after seeing or coming across some problem. So if a problem is identified, then at actual customer service entrance locations we can monitor, because it includes the effect of step down transformers supplying the customer. So it will be at the service entrance from where the supply is given to a particular industrial setup, and then it will be at a required voltage level including the effect of step down transformer. It could be a distribution transformer or maybe higher level. The data collected at service entrance can also characterize the customer load current variations and harmonic distortion levels. Since it is monitoring whatever happens in the industrial facility or the customer facility, it includes the characterization of load current variations and harmonic distortion levels together. Additional advantage of this is, since we are using at a lower after step down transformer at a lower voltage levels, it reduces the transducer costs, so that the transducers which can be used for sensing various voltages and currents can be of reduced cost, and it provides indications of the origin of the disturbances, where the disturbances are taking place. Okay, so whether it is because of utility or the customer side of the meter, so that can be clearly identified. These are the advantages of right choice of the monitoring location. To locate the monitors as close as possible to the equipment affected by power quality variations, this is the best policy. Monitor sees the same variations that the sensitive equipment sees, so high frequency transients in particular can be significantly different if there is significant separation between monitor and the affected equipment. Okay, so getting the best data or for identification of the problems, the location can be as close to the equipment as possible. A good compromise approach is to monitor at the substation, that is a PCC, and at selected customer service entrance locations. So from the point of common coupling, from where rest of the loads may also be connected, could be a location, and at selected customer service entrance location. So at customer service entrance location is best, because if the problem is already identified in the industrial setup. Various options which are available for power quality monitoring equipment which could be permanently connected in the industrial setup are digital fault recorders. They may be smart relays and other intelligent electronic devices. There could be voltage recorders, in-plant power monitors, special purpose power quality monitors or revenue meters, which could be suggested that they may be permanently connected in the industrial setup for continuously monitoring various records. While selecting the monitoring equipment, we can check various factors of selection, like number of channels for voltage and current measurement, temperature specifications of the instrument, ruggedness of the instrument, input voltage range at which it can be used, the power requirements, ability to measure three-phase voltages, input isolation, which is isolation between input channels and from each input to ground. This is required. Ability to measure currents, housing of instrument, whether it is portable or rack mounted, ease of use, whether it is having user interface, graphics capability, etc. Documentation. Okay. Sometimes it is also having a facility of small printers which are attached to it, so we can also take some printouts. Or communication capability, whether modem or network interface is possible, and analysis software. Some of the equipment comes along with the software installed for analysis. So out of these factors, we have to check which factors are important while selecting our monitoring equipment. There is no doubt, as per the requirement, we can go for various different types of monitoring equipment. But more the facilities, it could be more useful, but it could be also more costly. So we have to make choice of selecting appropriate monitoring equipment. Now after selecting the monitoring equipment, before we start monitoring, we have to first set the monitoring threshold values. The threshold values, we need to define the normal range of conditions. For example, the equipment would not know what voltage would be identified as voltage sag. Okay, so for calling it or identifying it as a voltage sag occurrence, we need to set the threshold values of voltages, that if the voltage falls below this value, it must be counted as one of the event. They call it event. It is not likely that when we monitor for the entire monitoring interval, it is likely that there may not be any occurrence of any abnormality from the utility side. No fault may take place, or the events like what we are saying, power quality problems like voltage sag, flicker, it may not occur during that time. So it becomes essential that first we set the threshold values for the equipment to identify these as abnormalities. Okay. The best approach for selecting thresholds is to match them with the specifications of the equipment that is affected, because if you remember, earlier we have discussed that a power quality problem is a problem if the equipment is sensitive to it. That means it shows any malfunctioning or tripping or deviation in its operational performance, then we say it is a problem. So for identifying the problem with the equipment, we must know the normal operating specifications of the equipment, and anything beyond that will be causing problem to the equipment. So we can set the thresholds accordingly. Two quantities we are required to measure normally, voltage and current, and as we have already seen, many of the power quality events are because of voltage variations. So voltage provides the information of quality of power being delivered to a facility and characterize the transients and voltage sags that may affect the customer equipment. So mainly impression of higher voltages or reduction of voltage which occurs as a short duration variation that can be identified from the voltage. Whereas current is a result by the currents which are drawn by the loads, and so current measurements are required for checking whether harmonics are present. Okay, so current measurements are on feeder circuit at the service entrance is to characterize a group of loads. If we do it at the service entrance, it will be collectively giving the picture of all the harmonics being produced by a group of loads which is connected in the entire facility. So the entire facility will be taken as source of harmonics, which may not be a true picture because some of the loads may be linear, some may be non-linear in nature. The voltage measurements help characterize the system response to the generated harmonic currents. As we said, in the harmonics generated in currents also result into voltage harmonics, and so it also gives picture about system response. The resonance conditions will be indicated by high harmonic voltage distortion at specific frequencies. We know that in resonant condition, it occurs at a particular resonant frequency, and so only that order frequency will be showing voltage distortion of high harmonic distortion. So that also will be identified as possible resonance condition. To determine system frequency response characteristics from measurements, voltage and currents must be measured simultaneously. This is very important. Only then frequency response characteristic can be taken into account. Along with the parameters, their ranges, we also must understand the importance of duration of monitoring, how long we can monitor. Now this depends on the monitoring objectives. For example, for voltage sags, monitoring may be required for a significant length of time because, as I said, voltage sag may not occur if we monitor say for one day. Typically, the rainy season is selected for such power quality monitoring because likelihood or possibility of occurrence of faults because of bad weather conditions is more, and so then we get a chance of recording voltage sag even when we record or monitor for lesser smaller durations. If the problems involve capacitor switching, it may be possible to characterize the conditions over a period of couple of days, because capacitor switching occurs quite frequently and it is based on the conditions which are occurring because of load switching. So shorter duration monitoring can help. Harmonic distortion problems and flicker problems should be characterized over a period of at least 1 week to get a picture how the load changes and how system variations affect the harmonic levels. The harmonic distortions, they need monitoring for at least 1 week. Generally, they say that such monitoring should be done as a thumb rule for entire process cycle of the industry. That is a minimum duration. But if possible, 1 week is a typical time for which the monitoring can be done, so that likelihood of catching hold of any power quality events taking place in the system from the utility side, as well as completion of all entire set of switching or load changes taking place in the industrial facility, everything is taken care if we consider generally as a 1 week duration. So this is for duration of monitoring. To end this lecture, let us summarize what we have studied today. We have understood that monitoring can be done as a proactive or reactive approach. This is exactly like in medical checkups. Some people continue taking annual checkups even when they are not coming across any health issues. That is a proactive approach. Similarly, reactive approach is when the health hazard is first identified. Then all the checkups are done. So monitoring is also similar. We can go for proactive or reactive approach. More common is reactive approach. In some cases, because it is involving a lot of cost of monitoring, in India proactive approach is not very frequent. Initial site surveys are very useful for collecting the information like nature, frequency and possible causes of power quality problems in the setup. So after the initial site survey, we collect all the information about the equipment locations, their connections and grounding, electrical connections and grounding, the load cycle and the typical times at which a particular problem is seen. Selection of monitoring parameters, location of monitoring equipment and duration, all are very important. Right selection of monitoring parameters is important, but that can be done only after rough guess of what could be the cause of problem. Like it varies from the cause of problem. If it is because of voltage sag, then monitoring parameter selection would be different. The location is generally preferred at the service entrance, where all the loads will be connected together, but it will be a total impact of entire facility load which is coming together at the service entrance. If it is done near the equipment which is posing problems, it can be more precise and identification of problems can be done quickly. Choice of monitoring equipment and the threshold limits. As per our requirement, we can choose various monitoring equipments which are available, but various selection factors on which this monitoring equipment must be selected are also identified, which includes number of channels, the isolation of channels with each other, the voltage ranges and current ranges, the power requirements and data storage capacity, communication possibilities, as well as the softwares which are available for analysis. Their threshold limits need to be adjusted appropriately. Only then certain abnormal operation or abnormalities can be identified by the monitoring equipment, and it can be recorded as power quality issue or event. Thank you for being patient. and listening to this lecture carefully. I hope it is useful to you. You can refer this reference material which is prescribed in the university syllabus for understanding this topic. Mainly I have used R.C. Dugan's book for preparation of the slides of this presentation. Thank you.